See, the body mind complex, the vehicle, a protective guard is required, a guard which requires a protection. Okay? So the ego is a sort of protective mechanism. It will protect your identity, protect your physical identity or mental identity. Mental identity it protects taking care of the memories. And it says all these memories, I had 10 memories, all these memories is me. All these actions are me. So it takes the ownership. And ego is a sort of survival mechanism. Your body is, if there's no ego, there's no survival possible. Okay, somebody comes and hurts, you don't respond. Intellect says logically there's no response required. But there a protection required. Ego is a sort of protective mechanism. It says takes the ownership. This body is me. Protect it. Okay. So the ego is a protection mechanism at one level. A child is egoless. So child, anybody can come and harm a child. But as you grow up, your ego develops. And ego develops as a protective mechanism. Protection. Ego uses your memory. Okay. So it uses your memory. It says, I am a woman. Okay. Woman has to be protected in this circumstance, it will say. Right. It will use. So like that, it's a protective and reactive mechanism for the environment, society, environment. Now, is ego required? Is required because for you to grow up, for you to survive and grow up, ego is required. Okay. But for enlightenment, ego has to be dropped finally for liberation. Dropped means, so the function of the ego is over. Okay. It's almost like you have seen the coconut on the tree. So there is a husk there. The green husk is there, right? Why is that husk is there? To protect the coconut inside. Okay. So once it falls into the ground, it falls into the river and it goes to some place, it gets landed, it finds a fertile place, then husk deteriorates, that husk goes. The shell is there, shell opens and the kernel comes out in the form of another coconut tree, right? So what happens if this husk is not there? The shell is soft, the kernel is soft, it will die. So the kernel is required, the husk protection is required until a point when the tree is ready to, when the seed is ready to come out as a tree. Until that protection is required. After that it is to break, right? Similarly, ego is required for us to born. It's a protective mechanism. Grow and survive in the society. Until a point you are ready for liberation, enlightenment. The moment point of liberation, enlightenment comes, the ego starts breaking. It is no longer required. Now, from a human being, you are actually already becoming a divine being. That's your role of your body, mind. The body and subtle body role is over. So you have to grow into divinity. Then these will no longer required. What was protective mechanism earlier is no longer useful. That's why all spiritual tradition says ego has to be dropped. But till you grow to that level, ego is required. Okay? The spiritual journey is a transformation of the ego itself. First level ego is called tamasic ego, laziness. Then ego, laziness is one way of protective mechanism. If I don't go out, what will happen to you? Nothing will happen to you, no harm, no. I will be staying home. But if you don't go out, then you can't grow also. So then ego becomes rajasic ego. I have to do activity, take risk. So then taking risk, you start seeing that, oh, I am getting disturbed. I have to be peaceful. The peace has to be protected. Then the ego gradually becomes sattvic ego. Then the sattvic ego also has to be dropped when you become enlightened, liberated.
So no protective mechanism required for enlightenment.
He will not be governed by ego, but he will use the ego. An enlightened being, okay, the role of the ego is over at that point. Like the role of the husk is over when the plant has to come out, right? So, and when the enlightenment happens, the role of the ego is over. Now again he has to operate in the world, some ego is required. So he may take the ego of a master, guru or a teacher or a king. Then there will be a ego, but now this ego is not unconscious. Consciously he puts on ego to protect the body-mind complex or to take care of the functioning. So that's why if you see on the neck of Shiva there is a serpent, right? The serpent represents the ego. Okay. Shiva is nothing but Jiva is nothing but Shiva. Shiva and Jiva are same. For the Jiva, the serpent is poisonous. For the Shiva, it's an ornament. So that's why once a Gnani also uses a ego, but more as a functional purpose rather than protection purpose. Is the distinction clear?
Yes.